Alderman Arena. John Arena.
Thank you. Thanks everybody for being here tonight. I want to thank the Irving Park Baptist Church for hosting us and all of the neighborhood associations that came together to put this together. I know what kind of heavy lifting you've done to pull all this together. I am Alderman John Arena, and interestingly enough, I'm the incumbent, but I'm kind of new to you. I'm new to this area along with the remap that brought Old Irving Park, Independence Park, into the 45th Ward. And some of you know me very well, as I've worked in the community with the Portage Park Neighborhood Association for well over 10 years. And I think about the 20 years that my wife Jill, who's here tonight, have lived in the neighborhood and raised 2 children here, Joey and Jenny. This is probably the most exciting time for me to be here in the 45th Ward. We have so much momentum going forward. When I ran 4 years ago, the discussion was how do we bring economic development to the neighborhood? How do we engage in local government again here in the ward? And how do we have a conversation downtown that's respectful but challenging to some of the ideas that we were very disappointed with from the previous administration? We opened up the ward office, made an accountable ward office that's accessible to everybody. We brought over 80 businesses to the 45th Ward, and that includes the old and the new areas of the 45th Ward. And we've improved our infrastructure and invested in our infrastructure in a way that we hadn't seen for 2 decades before. But we've also, downtown, worked to kind of challenge the status quo and bring more accountability and more conversation to City Council.
More time to talk later, Michelle Barrett.
Good evening, everyone. Is that right here? Good evening, everyone. There we go. Good evening. My name is Michelle Barrett, and first I would like to thank the neighborhood organizations GIPNA, OIPA, and Portage Park Neighborhood Association, Eric Warren, for coming out tonight through the weather, and all of you for coming out and braving the weather to come out and learn more about your choices you have to represent you. I'd like to share a little about myself and the background that I have, which is a well-rounded experience of international business, owning my own small business, and an extensive experience in a non-for-profit. And with all of these, it has given me the opportunity to deal with budgets big and small, and also deal with others to make sure we achieve our goals. I've worked with Variety the Children's Charity for over 20 years, which is an organization that helps kids with disabilities, and been honored to be their president and the chairman of their local chapter here. I've also served as a parent representative for the local school council and on the PTO board for my children's school. Most of you may know me as the 45th Ward Mom, and it's a website I started a couple years ago because I think it's very important to make sure you know what's happening in your own backyard. And to do that, you have to have one place to go to, be informed, and be engaged for what is going on. One thing I have not done before is run for office. I've voted Republican, I've voted Democrat, but like many of you, I've been very frustrated with the middle class being ignored. And if I am elected, I would look to put public service back in public office and work hard to put families and the community first in the decisions that I make. I believe in term limits. I would not take a pension, as I believe leaders should not be a burden on the budgets. And I would commit to being a full-time alderman to serve the needs of the entire 45th Ward. I thank you for your consideration, and I look forward to tonight's forum.
Thank you to the host, all of you for being here tonight, and the candidates here sitting at the table. I'm Michael Diaz, I'm running for 45th Ward, and I want to Republican. I'm going to tell you 3 things. I'm going to tell you about myself. I'm going to tell you about the things that I want to do in the world. But I'm going to tell you about the challenges that confront us. We have to get to first before we can do anything else. 45th Ward, by the way, welcome to the 45th. The 45th Ward is a city within a city, right? It's a place where you can still raise a family on a working minimum salary. Working families can still establish and settle down and help extend their roots here, just as my family did recently, 2 years ago. My wife and I bought a home in Jefferson Park. For the past 6 years, I've been protecting your interest, literally. Regulating all the banks and mortgage companies, including the pawn shops in the state of Illinois, being sure that banks account for the monies that you deposit in them, so that when they open up, if you deposit money on a Friday and you're there on a Saturday, that money is filled in. And to the extent they weren't playing by the rules, we shut them down. When mortgage companies defrauded borrowers, which caused your property values to go down, we worked hard to get those people in line and answering to justice. I was at ground zero back in 2007, 2008, when the financial industry collapsed. I understand firsthand what happens when a bank cannot extend funds to entrepreneurs, or help businesses grow and expand, or help first-time home buyers buy a home. It's devastating to the local economy. It's devastating to the city. I've also seen and am understanding with my conversations with people at the Federal Reserve Bank and the FDIC that we are on our way back. And I see I got 15 seconds. Pensions is a challenge that we face that we must solve before we can do anything in this world. Most people aren't talking about it. I intend to.
Thank you, John Dorito.
Well, hello. Sorry about that. Thank you all for coming out this evening. I want to tell you why I'm running for alderman. When I was a young police officer about 23 years ago, I walked into a 7-Eleven while off duty. The clerk told me that he was having a hard time with two guys in the lot, so I decided to walk out there and see if I can get him to leave. Tapped on the driver's side window, showed my badge, and at the same time realized they were trying to steal the car. The driver immediately rolled out on me. The struggle was on, the other offender came around, I was knocked to the ground, and began to kick me in the head and face repeatedly, so hard that I would actually see a flash of light with every impact. I struggled as the second offender tried to go for my gun. As I started to lose consciousness, I could feel the gun slip out of my hand and away. At that time, the offender stood over me and he fired point blank twice at my face. Incredibly, he missed. Now, I ended up with a fractured cheekbone, dislocated jaw, and it took a plastic surgeon 37 stitches to put my lips back together. Now, for obvious reasons, that was one of the worst days of my life, but it was also one of the best, and that it put things in perspective. I realized that if you're not safe at home, where you work, or where you go to school, nothing else matters. And I spent my entire career as a police officer working to help people. That's what I do. That is my passion. And I believe that a strong community leader requires that same skill set, that same passion for improving the quality of life in our neighborhoods. And I feel that I can do so much more as alderman than I can as a police lieutenant. And that's why I want to be your alderman.